This is an interview just the other day between, oh, I forgot his name. Hold on. Josh Paul. Between Josh Paul and Christiane Amanpour. Now, Christiane Amanpour is a well-known, anchor for CNN, and she's been around forever. And I think people really take her opinions and her points more serious than a lot of other anchors because she is Iranian British. And so they hear the British accent and they, know she's Iranian or that she's not from here. And they're like, she must be smart. But this woman has done amazing amounts to manufacture consent for U.S. wars over the years. She has helped manufacture the agreement with obliterating civilians around the world for decades. I feel like I've been watching her on TV since I was, 8 years old. She's been there a long time. Anyway, and Josh Paul is the State Department official who quit. I covered this the other day. Quit because he couldn't be a part of this anymore. He couldn't be a part of the weapons shipments to Israel to bomb children.
I think he's right. And I think what you see is a tension between those of us who have worked in political and military fields on the ground in the Middle East. And
when he's saying a tension between us, he means those of us in the State Department. State Department and Defense Department and various other U.S. governmental departments.
In the defense establishment, in the uniformed services, who understand that this is not going to work. This is not going to lead to the result that Israel wants. It is just going to prolong the suffering of both the Israeli and the Palestinian people for another generation, as opposed to, I think, a very political, ideological perspective that is coming from the political level in the US and in Israel and in the UK that thinks that there is a way to make this work. There is not, and the suffering we are seeing on the ground really reflects that. I can't recall a time in my experience where I've seen such a disconnect between our values and our actions, or between the perspectives of our political leadership and the realities on the ground.
Now, you gotta understand, I'm very glad this guy quit. I mean, he quit the State Department, which no one does. But there's been a bit of a mutiny where people have been walking out, people have been making their anger known. But he quit the State Department, despite working there for years, facilitating weapons shipments. Quit the State Department because of this genocide against Gaza. And you got to understand that I disagree with a lot of things he says about what the U.S. stands for and everything, but I'm also glad he's doing this, that he's quitting the State Department and speaking out about it. He said, I've never seen a bigger difference between our values and our action. It's like, dude, the U.S. values for decades have been to just kill innocent people in order to get money and power, in order to maintain the empire. Yes, what is worse, and the reason we're seeing this mutiny in the State Department and other U.S. departments in the government is because of the sheer numbers. It's just the amount of killing that's going on and the speed at which it's going on that has changed. And you're seeing more people stand up and give a shit that the U.S. is taking part of this. And like I mentioned, shipping 15,000 bombs over there, that's a low estimate. That's just, I think that was probably many days ago that it was 15,000. But, the U.S. is heavily involved in this.
Can I ask you where and how you draw that line and make that difference? This is not the first time Israel has gone to war against Hamas in Gaza, and it's not the first time there has been backlash around the world. What makes you say that this is so different to have caused you to have resigned?
So a number of factors, the first of which is just the scope and the scale.
Yeah, you moron, Christiane Amanpour. The scope and the scale is the difference. Yeah, the U.S., Israel has oppressed and tortured and imprisoned Palestinians for decades, but they didn't kill 15,000 in a matter of weeks. It's the scope, you idiot. What's the difference?
Here we are 2 months into this conflict, and we have seen 3 times more children die, 6,000 in Gaza, than in 2 years of Russia's war against Ukraine. We have seen over 50 journalists killed, over 100 UN aid workers, over 200 medical professionals. Do you know what it takes to be a doctor in Gaza?
We've interviewed a lot of them, and it's a terrible situation for them.
Scale.
I love that. Yeah, I've interviewed them. It sounds rough over there. It sounds like not a good thing. I mean, the cognitive dissonance that it's kind of amazing that Christiane Amanpour can one moment interview a doctor in Gaza and go, that is so terrible that you're going through that. And yet over the years, I don't have the interviews on hand, but I'm sure she's been asked about Israel throughout the years and has not called it an apartheid state and has not said that Gazans live in a prison and has not said that they're being oppressed. And I don't mean that she's the most full-throated defender of Israel. She might not be. But even just to be a worker at CNN, on camera at CNN, I guarantee she's not calling Israel an apartheid state. And she's not saying that this is utterly insane and genocidal, or she would lose her job quickly.
Of the loss has been astounding. And of course, my role in the State Department involves approving many of these major arms transfers that are going to Israel right now, that are enabling this killing.
But this is American policy. It's not like these are rogue transfers. This is American policy, bipartisan, decades long. Israel is America's strongest ally in the Middle East, and America provides.
I love that she's like, but this is American policy to commit genocide, is it not? Why would you quit when it's American policy to just murder all these children? Can you explain to me why you would not want to murder these children when we make it pretty clear we like murdering children? That's what we do. Really, if this were a sane person, like if she were moral and logical, she would go, but this is American policy. This is repulsive. You should have quit decades ago, and I should have quit CNN. Oh my God. Like that would be rational. That would be a rational stance right there.
The most aid in the world to Israel, and obviously to Egypt as well, but in general to Israel. Again, what is so unscrutinized about this? What was so different that made you resign publicly?
Well,
he already answered that. He said the scale of it, you idiot.
In all the arms transfers I've been a part of discussing before, including to Israel, there has always been space for discussion and debate. You can raise concerns about how are these arms going to be used. Do we have confidence that laws of war, laws of proportionality are going to be respected? Do we have concerns about some of the units that these arms might be going to and their track records? What was different here was that there was no discussion. There was no space for that discussion.
Now, I find that hilarious because he's saying previously there were discussions. And it's like, how many times have you ever seen the U.S. withhold an arms transfer because they were afraid it might not be used in the best way? I'm not saying they didn't have a discussion about it. I'm saying they never didn't do it. The U.S. always sent arms to wherever the killing was. Like, there was no point, in the war in Afghanistan where they're like, yeah, don't send the arms over there. I think people are gonna get hurt a little bit. Not to mention our weapons contractors sell to any country that's. Now let me skip to. This is hilarious. This is amazing.
Employees have different beliefs, and of course, one thing that is actually.
Oh, I missed it actually. Hold on, what's the time? Oh no, that is what I wanted to say.
The State Department response to your resignation, basically saying that it expects and appreciates employees have different beliefs, and of course, one thing that is actually kind of interesting for all of us is to know that there is a dissent. There's an official dissent channel in the State Department that allows people to air their concerns, and that was history from the Vietnam War.
There are channels in the State Department for you as a State Department worker to say, hey, how about we not bomb kids? Do you think any of those channels matter at all? Do you think once the State Department got an email from Mr. Underling and it said, God, I don't like that we're giving weapons to Israel. This is bad. And do you think the State Department went, I hadn't thought of it that way. And so not only is this complaint box, I'm sure the complaint box of the State Department is just overflowing with pieces of paper saying, don't kill so many people. But not only is this complaint box just stupid and meaningless and ignored, but the idea that Christiane Amanpour would bring it up as like, isn't that amazing and wonderful? They have a complaint box at the State Department. So aggressively stupid. The idea that anyone would watch this garbage and go, well, that's good to hear. I'm glad they got that complaint box.
This is what the State Department says about you. With respect to this specific criticism that's been aired, we have made very clear that we strongly support Israel's right to defend itself. We're going to continue.
And as you guys know, right to defend itself doesn't mean anything. It's a nonsense sentence. It means absolutely nothing. Furthermore, the UN rapporteur said that legally, under international law, you can't defend yourself against your own. You don't have a right to defend yourself against your own nation, against your own state. And since they refuse to give Palestinians a state, then Israel's an apartheid state, and they're defending themselves against their own nation, against people in their nation. I mean, it's just
providing the security assistance that they need to defend themselves. But the president and the secretary of state has spoken to this very clearly, that we expect Israel to abide by all international law as they defend themselves. Israel says it's doing that to the best of its.
The U.S. keeps saying we expect them to abide by international law, and Israel keeps saying we are abiding by international law. None of that is true. Mountains of evidence showing that none of that's true. And so why keep saying it? What, we expect them to? You know they haven't. It'd be like if my neighbor was murdering everybody, and I saw the bodies on the sidewalks, and then I said to him, listen, Wayne, I expect you to abide by all laws and not murder people. And he, with the bloody knife in hand and the bodies around his feet, goes, I will absolutely abide by all laws and not murder people. Like, what? Why would you even? Why would anyone take any of that serious? Like, it's pure insanity, and that's what they're doing.
Its ability.
So I think we have a responsibility as the larger, more powerful partner in this relationship to give advice, to give guidance, to step in when things are not going right. And when we say that we have a responsibility to, or a commitment to defend Israel and to support Israel's security, I think we have to look at the situation on the ground and say, is that what is actually happening? Is Israel more secure as a result of our assistance? Or has our military assistance enabled Israel to move ahead with the expansion of settlements in the West Bank, to continue the siege of Gaza, and to take steps that ultimately undermine its own security rather than leading to a comprehensive peace?
Yeah, my biggest problem with what Israel's doing is not that it's undermining their security. My biggest problem is they're bombing hospitals, and killing children, and killing thousands of innocent people. I'm not sitting here going, I wouldn't care. I'd be fine with all of this, but I just don't think it's going to work. I just don't think it's the best plan. I don't care if it's the best plan or not. I don't care if it's a great plan. I don't care if it helps them be secure. It doesn't matter. It's immoral and it's genocide.